So you've spoken a little bit about the advantages of large-scale trials. So what do you see are both the benefits and the potential disadvantages of large trials for single supplements?
Yeah, I mean, the disadvantage is the feasibility of actually implementing it. These are projects that require large investments of person time as well as resources to make these things happen in the first place. Even though dietary supplements are uniquely suited for a much more pragmatic design and a lower cost approach than many other types of interventions that we might consider in the context of general health. Doing a dietary supplement trial forces you to focus on a particular supplement at a specific amount that you believe is correct and might or might not be linked with health outcomes. And so the larger scale, longer term trials do take time. These are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 year ventures. So while you might have all the intentions to initiate it, you have to appreciate the fact that it's going to be several years until you get those outcomes from the trial. And then seeing how those might be applied into guidelines or just into general research practice or clinical practice for that matter. So that's one of the biggest challenges with the larger scale trials. You have to be very selective about those that you decide to undertake and make sure you're going to get an answer that will be informative at the end of the day too.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned guidelines. So there were some recently updated guidelines for selected dietary supplements that you refer to. I think you're going to be speaking a little bit about that in the upcoming presentation. Can you say anything about that?
Yes, I'm glad you point that out. So there's a group called the U.S. Preventive Services Task Force. So it's USPSTF. Everything again has an acronym. But the task force actually recently updated their guidelines for selected vitamin and mineral supplements as well as for multivitamin supplements. This came out earlier in 2022, where they added in some of the newer evidence that came in for some of the large-scale trials. One example would be the VITAL trial, the vitamin D and omega-3 trial that was looking at vitamin D and fish oil or omega-3 fatty acids for a variety of health outcomes, as well as our Cosmos trial that recently published their results, as well as other studies that have come out. And these guidelines are important in framing and summarizing the evidence to date, particularly from the trials, and trying to come up with recommendations or not with regard to the potential health effects for selected individual vitamins and minerals, as well as a multivitamin, specifically in the context of cardiovascular disease and cancer, as well as, I believe, mortality. What it doesn't include is thinking about, when we think about health and aging and integrated medicine more broadly, and especially in the context of our Osher activities, we know that supplements are not just confined to trying to prevent, hopefully, the risk of, say, cardiovascular disease and cancer, but many other outcomes. And so one thing I'm looking forward to is presenting a broader swath of health outcomes beyond what those guidelines recently addressed, and to think about it a little bit more holistically.